Fred, are you, poor Fred. We have literally worn this man out. Brought him here from Idaho and then just wore the shoe leather off the bottoms of his feet. Fred Kelly Grant, how many people do not know who he is? Let me figure out who we're talking to. Okay, tons of people. Okay, well then I'm going to let him give you the rundown on his bio. But when it comes to things like, how many people think we could delist the spotted owl as an endangered species? How many people would like to? Yeah! Okay, so the ability to do that comes through people like this, who are really well versed in the Constitution and law and real basic stuff, and then they get to whoop up on the bureaucracies and teach us how to do it. So that's the whole point of this. And then we have Craig Chenoweth, who's here. You guys have heard him on the radio. When we talk about the water issues in Scott Valley, you hear from Craig on the radio. So now you have a face. So Fred has been here from Idaho, visiting the people in Scott Valley, kind of getting a tour and a lay of the land, and figuring out how specifically to help them. But he's also speaking with us here on Charter City, Charter County, the 10th Amendment, and then that idea of coordination. So we're going to go from here till about 7:15. We'll take a break. The people who need to go to their breakout groups or have to go home or whatever they have going on can do that. And then we'll stay in this room for question and answer. So just so, you know, if you're kind of a time person, you know, you kind of have a roadmap there. And so I think we've hit it. How do you guys want to do this, Craig?
Fred. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having us this evening. This is just a wonderful opportunity. This gentleman I had never met before until Friday when I picked him up in Medford. We'd spoken on the phone, we had emailed, but you never know how to walk in a person's shoes till you look them in the eye. And I've spent just a short period of time with him, and I can't believe the knowledge that I've gained and the insight that I've gained into our situation, our problems, and the wonderful opportunities that we have to solve them. That's probably been the most dramatic thing. A quick update before I turn this over to Fred is that some of you who have followed our plight up there with Siskiyou County and the Department of Fish and Game, there was a little court settlement this week that's kind of changed the entire picture. What that was is that there was an environmental group called the River Keepers who had sued the Department of Fish and Game because they weren't going to be tough enough on us. Not that we wanted to really give Fish and Game the authority over adjudicated water rights, but they want more. Well, anyway, this judge down in Alameda decided to side with them. But in a nutshell, what he decided was the process that Fish and Game was using to enact the ITP was illegal. So the neat thing, it's been set aside for the moment. The bad news is this. It's going to give them an opportunity to go back to the drawing board and do more. So we're not giving up. We're going to remain diligent. We have other opportunities and other problems to solve. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your prayers, your support, everything that you've done for us. We thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to give you Fred, and he's reading the Bible over here. Or was that the hymn book?
That's the hymn book.
Oh, he's reading the hymn book. He won't sing for you, though. He told me that.
No.
So I'll let Fred tell you who he is and how he does it, and thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to see if this will work. Does it work? Is this okay? I was looking at the hymn book. I was raised Southern Methodist, and I'm now Catholic and have been for many years, but the one thing I miss are the old hymns. My great aunt had the absolute worst voice in the history of man, and also the loudest. And I can still remember coming up to New Market Methodist Church. We'd be late because my grandmother was always late, and she'd say, "Oh my Lord, Jeannie is off key," and you could hear her for about a half mile as we went on. You were told that you could leave early or come late and leave early. One of my professors in law school at the University of Chicago had that rule. He didn't care whether you came or not. And as a matter of fact, if he came in and he called on 3 people in a row who were unprepared, he left the room. And he didn't teach the class that day, with the promise that that day, what he would have taught, that one question on your exam would come from what he would have taught you. And we could always tell when he was working on research and didn't really want to take time to teach the class. He would walk in, and as soon as he said, "Mr. Greenstein," we knew. We could just fold our books up because it was going to be Greenstein, Goldborough, and Goldman. And he would call them in a row, they would be unprepared, and he would stomp out. I won't do that, even if you come in late or you leave early. We'll try to finish. And I'm going to try to go through a 3-year law class in 25 minutes. So it's going to be skip and jump. The 10th Amendment to the Constitution is the most important provision of the Constitution, in my opinion. What is my opinion worth? Not a lot. At the College of Idaho, where I went, a very good liberal arts school, which was conservative when I went there, I picked an honors paper to write called The Genesis of Articles of Confederation because it sounded easy. I figured there would be a lot of research that I wouldn't have to do. I could just pick up something and read it. My friends made a joke of it because it was the most dull of all the subjects that were offered. And I thought the same thing, but I thought, well, I can get it done quickly. I turned out, unfortunately, to be fascinated by it. Because instead of reading about the words of our founders, I was reading the words of them. I was reading what they said in the debates. I was reading what they wrote about the Articles of Confederation. The importance of the Articles of Confederation I found to be that we found from those what they didn't intend. And what they didn't intend was a strong national government. From the time that our settlers came to the shores of what was to be the greatest republic in the history of the world, they did not want a strong national government. We had no revolution in this country, in my opinion, and the opinion of some of my professors. We had a rebellion. We had people whose national government, England, had overstepped its bounds and had forgotten the natural rights of man. And so we rebelled. And that's pretty much where we are today. We have a national government that's overstepped its bounds and has been doing that for 40 years without any check of any kind. We've found a way to check it that I'll talk about tonight. You folks also found a way to check it, even though a little bit slower way, but a way to check it in the last election. With 55 new members of the House of Representatives who actually have taken control of the Congress. I hope you're paying attention to what those people are doing. They have pulled the rug out from under the Republican leadership in the House of Representatives. The Republican leadership that is so close to the Democratic leadership that sometimes you wonder which is which. These 55 said, no way, we are here because we were voted in to make a change, and if the people don't like our change at the end of 2 years, so be it, they'll vote us out. It's refreshing for someone like me who studied the Constitution all my adult life to find politicians that are in Washington not caring whether they get reelected, but caring to do the right thing. We don't have much of that in D.C. We don't have much of that in any of the 50 state capitals, and in most of our local governments, we don't have much of that. One of my very good friends, when I was deputy clerk to the Canyon County Board of Commissioners years ago in Idaho, she got elected and she says, Fred, if I ever make my vote dependent on how many votes I'll get in the next election, I want you to tell me. About 2 months later, somebody came in with a proposition for her and she said, how many votes do you think I'd get next time if I did that? And I didn't say anything. She looked over to me and she said, I just did it, didn't I? And I said, yep. And she said, are you going to tell me I told you so? I said, I told you so. And I don't think, to my knowledge, she ever did it again. She voted the right way and she got voted out the next election. She voted herself out of office by doing the right thing. Term limits constitutionally, I've never thought work, because term limits should be put on the staffs of the Congress. They should be put on the people that have made a permanent fixture of themselves in the District of Columbia. They're the people you have to change. So how do we change that? Well, the process that we're talking about changes from the inside out. It changes from the administrative agencies. Most of the harm that comes to our country doesn't come from Congress because they do so little. And we're fortunate in that. We're fortunate that there's gridlock, because if there weren't, we'd be in serious trouble. I remember a newsman in Idaho who used to say, when the Idaho legislature came into session, he would say, "Today is the first day of the session of the Idaho legislature. No person is safe until they leave town." And the first time he did that, he was really criticized, and the sponsors complained to the station manager. So the next day he started off and he said, "I was really criticized yesterday for saying that no person is safe until the legislature leaves town, so let me apologize." The legislature came into session yesterday. No person or his property is safe until they leave town. And that can be said in California on a daily basis, and it can be said in virtually every other state in the Union on a daily basis. But the people who really do damage to us are those in the administrative agencies, state and federal, the non-elected, permanent bureaucratic employees who know better than you about everything. They know better than the people on the land about the land. They know better than the people with water rights about what to do with the water rights, and will tell you so. Over the last 11 years, I have helped Owyhee County ranchers develop and get passed in the Congress the Owyhee Initiative Bill, called the Owyhee Public Lands Management Act of 2009. It was passed by both houses of Congress and signed by the President. It is the first bill in 25 years that passed Congress and was signed that give private property rights to ranchers. And it was given only to the ranchers in Owyhee County because we were the only ones that worked hard enough to get it passed. We had to do it by legislation because we could not influence enough the federal agencies, even through coordination, even through what I'm going to discuss tonight, to save the ranchers of the county on a permanent basis. And so we did it. We did it with the help of Senator Crapo, Mike Crapo of Idaho, who's one of the real patriots in the United States Senate. He believes in local government, he believes in the people, and he believes in them above all else. He's a water lawyer, he's a constitutionalist in that he believes in the Constitution as it's written and as it's practiced. There's a big difference between the Constitution as it's written and as it's practiced. There are a lot of us who wish the Constitution were applied differently, but unfortunately, we lost that battle 175 years ago before we really got a chance to make the argument. The agencies that are most destructive to property rights in this country are the Fish and Wildlife Service, the Corps of Engineers, the Forest Service, the Environmental Protection Agency. And then we start with the real demons, the state fish and game departments of each state, the departments of environmental quality of each state, the departments of natural resources of each state, and the departments of water resources of each state. Then the next level we go to are those county and city governments that have decided that through zoning they know best what to do with your property. I just found in Siskiyou County a lady who is unable to, she has miles and miles of rocks, river rocks, that are stacked on her property. Just stacked there. They don't have to be extracted from the ground. And she decided she could sell those to developers, but found out she couldn't without a permit. And they won't give her a permit until she does an environmental impact statement. So I told her if she would lease 100 square feet of them to me, I'll take them out and sell them and let them charge me so that I can get into a court and show the county of Siskiyou what the Constitution means. County and city governments